Imagine this. A man walks into a room full of high-stakes poker players, his palms sweaty, his heart pounding. Tonight is not just any night, it's a game where reputations are made and fortunes can be lost. Our protagonist, let's call him John, is not your average poker player. He's not here solely for the thrill of the game or the potential financial gain. No, John is here for something far more intriguing. He's here to demonstrate a concept, the power of selective honesty. Right from the start, he does something unusual. He reveals his hand in the initial rounds, an act that seems counterintuitive in a game built on bluffing and secrecy. He loses a few chips, yes, but that's not the point. By showing his cards, he's doing something far more valuable. He's earning the trust of his opponents. It's a risky move, but it's all part of John's strategy. He's not just playing poker, he's playing the people. His honesty, though selective, disarms his opponents, making them lower their guard. He's generous too, offering insights and friendly advice, further solidifying the trust he's carefully building. Now, you may ask, isn't this a dangerous game to play? And you'd be right. But remember, this is selective honesty we're talking about, not complete transparency. John knows when to hold back, when to fold, and when to go all in. He understands the power of timing and the art of deception. As the night progresses, John's strategy becomes more evident. His opponents, disarmed by his initial honesty and generosity, are less cautious, less suspicious. They're playing the game, but John, he's playing them. In the end, he walks away as the winner, not because he had the best hand, but because he played his cards right, literally and metaphorically. He used selective honesty and generosity, not just as a strategy but as a powerful tool to disarm, to manipulate, and ultimately to win. Remember, in the game of power, it's not always about having the best hand, but knowing how to play the hand you're dealt. So what does the poker player's strategy have to do with selective honesty and generosity? Let's delve into that. In the world of power, selective honesty and generosity are crucial tools. They aren't about being dishonest or insincere. Rather, they're about deciding when to show honesty and generosity to win over the trust of others. It's like a poker player carefully choosing when to show their cards, not to deceive, but to build up a reputation of being trustworthy. Think of it this way. If a person is always honest or always generous, their behavior becomes predictable. On the other hand, if someone is always dishonest or always stingy, they're likely to be mistrusted. But when honesty and generosity are used selectively, it creates an aura of unpredictability that keeps others on their toes, making them more susceptible to influence. Now let's see how this strategy plays out in real life. In politics, for instance, politicians often use selective honesty to win the trust of their constituents. They might publicly admit to a minor mistake or wrongdoing, creating an image of transparency and authenticity. This calculated move disarms the public, making them more receptive to the politician's larger agenda. In the world of business, a CEO might use selective generosity, perhaps by offering employees unexpected bonuses or benefits. This not only boosts morale but also fosters loyalty, making employees more likely to follow the leader's vision. Even in personal relationships, selective honesty and generosity can be a potent tool. Imagine a friend admitting to a small fault or going out of their way to do something nice for you. These actions, when unexpected, build trust and deepen the bond of friendship. So, selective honesty and generosity isn't about manipulation. Instead, it's about understanding the power of unpredictability and the strategic use of honesty and generosity to build trust and influence. As the poker player demonstrated, selective honesty and generosity is a powerful tool when used strategically. You might be thinking, great, but how can I use this in my life? Well, the application of selective honesty and generosity is an art rather than a science. It requires finesse, timing, and a deep understanding of the other person's perspective. The key is to use these tools strategically, not as a crutch. Let's imagine you're in a negotiation. You could reveal a piece of information that doesn't harm your position, but makes you appear more trustworthy. This could be something as simple as admitting a minor mistake or flaw in your product. This honesty disarms the other party, making them more receptive to your proposals. Similarly, you could use generosity to your advantage. Perhaps you're in a leadership role and you want to motivate your team. Offering a reward or recognition at the right time can boost morale and increase productivity. But remember, if you're always generous, it loses its impact. It's the selective aspect that makes it powerful. So, how do you know when to be honest or generous? This is where understanding the other person's perspective comes in. If they're suspicious, a dose of honesty might be just what you need to break down their defenses. If they're feeling unappreciated, a little generosity could go a long way. but beware of overuse. If you're constantly being honest about every little thing or pouring out generosity, people may start to see through your tactics. It's about balance. Show enough of your hand to gain trust, but not so much that you lose your strategic advantage. Above all, remember that honesty and generosity should not be used to manipulate or deceive. They are tools to build trust and influence, to create win-win situations. If used correctly, they can help you navigate complex social dynamics and achieve your goals. So, start small. Experiment with being selectively honest or generous in different situations. Pay close attention to how people react. Learn from your experiences and refine your approach. Remember, the goal is not to deceive, but to build trust and influence. Let's quickly revisit what we've covered today. We delve deep into the 12th law from Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power, using selective honesty and generosity to disarm an opponent. We looked at this fascinating concept, which is essentially about using honesty and generosity not as blanket principles, but as strategic tools. We explored how this law can be applied in a variety of situations, from personal relationships to business negotiations. It's about finding the balance, knowing when to show your hand and when to hold back. We discussed the significance of timing and context, and how these elements can dramatically alter the impact of your actions. The key takeaway from this law is the power of strategy. It's not about deception, but about understanding human nature and using that knowledge to create positive outcomes. Just like our poker player, you too can use selective honesty and generosity to your advantage. It's all about playing your cards right.